Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Nora Seroussi show. Now, I know my voice sounds a little off because I've been yelling all week, but that's not going to happen tonight. I have a very special guest. Now, if I use the word go-getter and, incredible, this would apply. Let me introduce you to Giulia Nahmany. Welcome.
Hi, Nora.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Yes.
I know how busy you are.
Yes, it's indeed a very, very busy time of the year. I started the year in a very, very, how should I say, wild manner, but I could not refuse your invitation. So thank you very much. And with this occasion, I would like to say how much I admire you for, I think you are a remarkable woman that has achieved so much, and you are such an inspiration.
And blush.
Because that's the truth, and I love to see women who are feminine but powerful in the same way. And you've done so much for the community in a philanthropic, humanitarian business. So that's my opportunity to tell you this.
Thank you very much. That's very, very sweet of you. And I know I could say the same thing exactly to you. Philanthropic, you've done so much. You are a woman's woman. You are such a supporter. Now, I want to tell you, of course I did my homework, just so you all know, so that you know that I check and I read, so that I have what to discuss. But there's a few things I did not know, is that she actually was living in Belgium and spoke Flemish. You're probably the only person I know that speaks Flemish.
Well, yes, for people that know me, I was born in Israel, and we moved to Belgium when I was 6 years old. It was pretty difficult change for me to make, because you know how Israel is, and then I had to move to another country, and it wasn't like the United States, which is like a bigger part of Israel, but Belgium, who was a completely different mentality, and we went to a Jewish school, a very well-known Jewish school in Antwerpen called DIGI. And I remember, my first day of school, I had no idea. I couldn't speak. I couldn't understand anybody. Nobody could understand me, although all the kids were Jewish. And it took me about 2-3 months, and I learned Flemish, which was, and I succeeded. Toda raba.
Which means bravo in Hebrew.
Yes, in Hebrew.
2-3 months is amazing. It's taken me years, and I still don't speak Romanian well.
Yeah, but to my, how should I say, to my shame, because I didn't speak it, I didn't have who to speak it with in recent years, I kind of forgot it, but I'm sure that if I go back to Belgium, just give me a month and I'll speak it perfectly again.
I'm like that with French. I grew up in Canada and in Quebec, where it's compulsory. Well, it became compulsory after that.
Yeah.
To have French and English, and there's so many times I forget, and then I have to be around it a few hours, and then. Really, the brain is an amazing thing. It just gets it back.
It just has that cellular memory, because, even the cells and molecules, they have memory, not only from a scientific perspective, but also from a spiritual perspective, because we're not only here in the physical realm, but there's so many other layers that we cannot see. But actually, French I do speak, and I speak it perfectly, to my surprise, and I learned it funnily enough, while studying in the American school.
Really?
Nobody believes me, but that's the truth. I had a French teacher, Madame Gondalmont. Elle m'a appris à parler français.
Mais c'est parfait, parce que moi, je peux parler avec toi.
Oui.
Mais je veux que les gens...
Qui comprend qu'est-ce qu'on
It's supposed to be an English show, so...
Exactly.
I'm
but
trying
because
to keep where everybody understands everything.
Yeah.
Now, I have a few questions, because your background is so interesting. So, I saw that you have done writing. I saw that you've done producing. You've done the acting. Because when I had to put a title for the show, I honestly wasn't sure what to write. Because in English we have certain terms like go-getter, like, she's pizzazz, but I don't know how that translates in Romanian. So I've tried to give it a very all-encompassing title.
To put all in one. I'm a package deal.
You are, well, because you are so versatile.
Yeah.
The versatility is another thing, because, you know, I know people that do very well in one area, do very well in another area, but I don't mean, but I'm very lucky in my life. I've met so many people that can do so much.
Yes.
And you're one of them, and I want to talk about I know you have a very special film coming up. I want to talk about your, you know, humanitarian gestures you've done. I want to talk about how you got involved in it. So let's start at the beginning. So you were in Belgium, and then what made you decide that this is the avenue I want to take?
Well, ever since I was a little girl, I knew that I had a very special mission. A mission to inspire through art. And I knew that I wanted to be a star, but obviously, looking back, I didn't know how much responsibility it takes. And I knew it took a lot of work and a lot of discipline. And I'm a hard worker, and I'm not afraid to work hard. And I'm a very ambitious person. And so I started when I started my career at a very, very early age. When I was in school, I remember when I was 16, there were auditions for a TV show here. They just opened a music channel. At that time, it was called MCM Romania, which later transformed to MTV. Mm-hmm. And I remember that they called some people to audition, and I went. I didn't tell anybody. I just told my parents, listen, I'm going to an audition. I was very independent for a very early age. And there was the director and the producer, and they said, okay, we just want you to improvise something. So, because they wanted somebody very, you know, bubbly and open, and somebody who can improvise and not to be afraid of to speak in front of the camera. And I remember I was like, bună seara, doamnelor și domnilor, și bine ați venit la MCM România, și acum o să vedem piesa a lui Britney Spears, Oops, I Did It Again. And everybody was like...
I love it, I love it.
You know, and I just saw their reactions. They're like, yes, that's it. That's what you're supposed to do. Who taught you that? And it was just something very instinctive. Yes, it was something instinctive. And I always believe, you know, when you have it, you have it. And when you don't, you don't. And yes, I have a lot of respect to studying, and it's fantastic to broaden up your knowledge. But in the end of the day, if that passion
is not there,
and that fire that is burning inside of you is not there, nobody can light it up.
I agree with you 100%. And watching you, you know, I'm very okay now. At 16, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. I really admire when people have a direction like that young and say, oh, you know, I want to be an actor, I want to be a singer. I have to say, honestly, 16, I had no clue. I wanted to get my driver's license. That was my biggest thing then.
Yes, I got mine at 17 as well.
And then, you know, okay, life takes you down certain paths, and this is how we've landed up here through so many different things. Yes. Which you will read about later in my book, as we were talking about. But from that, you did that, I'm assuming you got the job.
I got the job, and I remember juggling between school, and I remember that I have to admit this, I know it's not an example for the children who are watching, but I remember that I used to skip some classes, and I used to go to where the guards were at the American school, and I used to watch my show because I was so curious to see, because it wasn't live at that time.
That's called playing hooky.
Yes, but we don't recommend
that. No, we don't recommend that.
We don't recommend that,
so I don't get into trouble.
No. But no, I was a very serious student. But you know, out of curiosity and out of respect for my work, I wanted to see and to see what I can modify and change in what I had done. So so I worked, and then I remember that I graduated. And my ultimate dream was to go to study musical theater. I wanted to be on Broadway.
Because I remember reading that you were a singer.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to do.
Are you going to sing for us tonight?
I don't know. We'll see.
I wanted to know if we have any pictures of her singing.
I don't think so.
All right.
Maybe they can find. But I remember wanting to study, and I applied to Tisch School of the Arts in NYU, and I remember preparing this monologue. I had to prepare Shakespeare, and I did a monologue from Romeo and Juliet, and I had to sing, and they were very impressed by me. But unfortunately, it was 2001, and the disaster that happened in New York changed everybody's perspective. And at that time, my parents were a big influence in my life. And, I remember my dad saying, it's too dangerous to go to New York right now, so maybe you should stay here for a while. So immediately I got into business school here in Romania. Mm-hmm. And I said, you know what, I still feel the need to study abroad because, English was my academic language. And it was difficult for me to study in Romanian. So I transferred to university in London. And I ended up studying business economics. Me, the artist, yes. And I was a good student, actually. I mean, people came to me, when there was micro and macroeconomics, they came to me to tell them, how to do their homework and their projects. But in my heart, I knew when I graduated in 2004 was my love for film, my love for music, my love for the arts. And so I went back to Israel, and I started recording my Israeli album. I got a whole team in place, and it was a wonderful experience recording the album in Hebrew. And I did a lot of press at that time. I remember I contacted Marius Moga, who is still a big composer here in Romania, and he had a big hit at that time called Bejulala. Yeah. And I said, Marius, I really want to do this song in Hebrew. And so we did that version in Hebrew, and it was a massive hit in Israel. It played in all the radio stations. And and that's how I ended up, in a way, coming back to Romania, because I ended up competing in the Golden Stag Festival, which is a big festival, music festival here in Romania, called Cerbul de Aur in Brașov. And I represented Israel at that time, because it was an international musical festival, and a lot of international artists, even Celine Dion, Christina Aguilera, they started their careers at that festival. And I represented Israel, and I ended up winning the popularity prize.
Oh, nice.
Yes, so it was a wonderful experience. And I sang Bijulala, which was a big hit during that time. And that's how I ended up slowly, gently crawling and getting back to Romania.
So how many years have you been back here now?
So now I have been back since 2000, officially since 2006, 2007.
Oh, so yes. I was here actually, for me it's not 2005.
Yeah. 2005 was the time when I did the festival. Then there was a time of juggling backwards and forwards between Romania and Israel. And then I ended up meeting my husband here, which is another beautiful story.
I want to hear
It's a love story. I think the whole country knows it.
Okay, I don't know about you people, but me, I love love stories. I've heard some amazing things here. And one of the ladies told me, I didn't tell anybody this. I don't know, I'm telling you. I said, well, I'm glad you felt comfortable. We would love to hear this.
Yeah, well...
How did it happen?
Oh, gosh. It was December 17th, 2008. Mm-hmm. I will never forget that day. And I think probably the whole Romania has heard that story, but not in English, so... And not at the Nora Seroussi show. And I was at the time of my life where I was very busy. I had just opened a makeup school in 2008, which was one of the first makeup schools in Romania. That was part of my entrepreneurial venture, my first entrepreneurial ventures, because I was also passionate about beauty and that area. And I remember I was on my way to a photo shoot, and I had my mom, God bless her soul, who was with me in the car, and my makeup artist. And I was driving the car, and it was snowing outside, and I saw a man walking on the street, and something happened which I cannot explain to you, Nora. It was like an energy, a force that just took my hand and opened the window. And I had never done this in my life.
Wow.
Never in my life. And I shouted, "You're handsome." Just like that in Romanian.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. And I remember just stopping the car. It was kind of like, Giulia, like a voice in my head, like my guardian angel, just telling me, "Giulia, stop the car. This is your destiny. And just stop." And it was like a moment, you know, when you see everything in slow motion, like, ooh, like that. And I saw him coming towards me. And I said to everybody, "Shh, he's coming." And there were cars honking behind, like, "Come on, come on." And I was like, wait, you know, the Israeli part of me.
You can't.
It's my destiny here, you know. And he came to me and he said, "Excuse me, did you say something?" And I said, "Oh, come on, don't pretend like you didn't hear what I said." And he's like, "No, I heard you shouting something, but I don't know what you said." I'm like, you know what? If we're already being honest with one another, you know what? I said you're handsome. And he said, "Well, you're beautiful too." And I'm like, "Yes, but look at me. I don't have makeup on, and I just came back from my cosmetics, and my face is all red. Look at me." And he's like, "Well, yes, that's how you know woman that's beautiful, you know, when she's without makeup and when you wake up with her in the morning."
Right.
And my mom is like, hello, you know, what are you trying to say?
I wanted to ask you, what was your mother's reaction?
My mom was just sitting there.
I would have just been...
She was sitting there.
Gobsmacked, like, what is she doing?
Yeah, and I don't even want to think what the makeup artist in the back was thinking. I don't even want to go there. But it was just that beautiful moment, and we exchanged cards really, really fast. And he called me the next day, and I didn't meet him. Have two children. I didn't meet him immediately. It took a couple of days.
Yeah.
But Nora, it wasn't the fact. It wasn't that I was afraid that I wasn't going to like him. It was more something that I was going to like him too much. And when I met him, and when the first time when he put his hand on me when we went on our first date. Ooh. It was just like the whole fire just came, and we just knew that was it. And then a month later, he just asked me to, he just told me, "You're going to be my wife."
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, people, there's hope for us.
Yes.
This is good news. Are you listening to the story? This is like what you really, fairy tales.
This is it. And what I'm trying to say from this story is, when you release, when you let go, and when it's meant to happen, it's just meant to happen. And I think that's the moral that we're supposed to like send off, the message. When something is supposed to happen, it just does.
All right, well, we have this conversation very often about fate and coincidence.
Yes.
And energy. I believe in all of that. And what, you know, things around you attract.
Everything is energy.
And I'm not surprised to hear this, because I have heard not exactly the same, but I mean, I think you had guts to just roll down the window and shout. I think that's terrific. And he responded, and so now they are married with 2 children.
With 2 daughters, yes.
With 2 girls now.
Yes.
I love these kind of things.
Yes. And but it wasn't something like a conscious thing that I had done. It was, I think, it was more like my higher self that made that decision. And I think when we trust our higher selves, because you know very well that we have more layers to us.
Of course.
So,
He read your aura, and you read his aura, and it just clicked.
Absolutely.
And what did your mother say about all that?
My mother,
she
supported me from the beginning of our relationship. And you know that I have a Jewish background, and it didn't matter to me, you know, the fact, like religion-wise, for me, the soul, that's the most important. And I think that's what matters the most, the soul.
I'm not going to get into a whole religious conversation.
Absolutely.
Because I have my own I don't say radical views, but I have my own thing. Mm-hmm. What counts, any religion, any country, any people, is what's inside here.
Absolutely.
Okay? All the rest, it's not immaterial, it's just an added part. Because of this, people have suffered so much.
Exactly.
And because of this, people are still suffering.
Yes.
You know, if we just look at it, that, you know, the rules of the Ten Commandments, the moral code, everybody would be better off.
Absolutely. Well, in spirituality, in Sanskrit, we have some universal laws that are called yama and niyama. And it's basic laws that we should abide to, like, for example, not lying, not stealing, you know, things that are basic.
Being kind.
Being good. Because being honest, it's so important.
You
and I
think that it's like the rules of life, but you'd be surprised, people, how many people don't follow some of them. And I've lived through it a lot. And I sit there and I go, my God, do we have to write it out and plaster it on your forehead?
No. There are so many important aspects to life. And if we just take a minute to be grateful for everything, to take a moment to be kinder to one another, to stop judging others. We don't have that right to judge anything or anybody because we don't know people's situations.
Until you walk a mile, there's a saying in English, and I don't know how it translates into Romanian. Until you walk a mile in someone's shoes, you cannot judge.
Exactly.
And I'm sure it's, you know, basically every language will have the same kind of thing to a certain extent. But I learned that, actually I was very lucky, I learned it early on that, you know, until you actually have lived their life, you can't pass judgment.
No.
You
and there's
there's
too much hatred going on, there's too much envy, jealousy, and all of these feelings of hatred, jealousy, fear, they're all they have such a low vibration.
It's all negative energy.
It's negative energy, and people must understand that the more positiveness is around us, the more light and kindness, the more we raise the frequency of vibration on a planetary level. So when people say, well, I'm just one person, I can't make a difference, that is the biggest mistake that one can make, because the difference comes with one's self, with one's own change and the way they behave. And if I am positive, and if I am pure light and pure love, and I'm talking to you and I'm transmitting that love, and we are here and we have this amazing energy around us, and we're transmitting that energy, we're raising that vibration.
You know, I knew when I met you, because I met her the first time, and I could feel this energy. And I had this actually, I've had it with quite a few of my guests. I like to have positive people on the show because I want people to watch. I want them to feel the energy and, you know, learn something new, hear a different point of view, have another discussion. It's important.
Yes, and what people also should understand is that we are the creators of our reality. So when people say, oh, well, I didn't succeed in doing this, or I didn't succeed in doing that, maybe we should ask them, did you have a negative thought regarding that aspect? And I'm sure that if they really go into introspect and analyze themselves, they will say, well, wait a minute, I basically auto-sabotaged myself and my success. And how many stories do we hear of that sabotaging? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if we...
And you know what, sometimes people don't even realize they're doing it, and you have to bring it to their attention.
Exactly, and to conscious...
I'm not sure, I can. I said,
exactly.
If you start with that attitude already, don't even bother.
It's the attitude and the thoughts, and to have conscious thoughts, positive thoughts. And in the beginning, you do it in a more, how should I say, you think about doing it, and by practicing, by meditation, I talk about that and how much the spiritual journey has elevated and helped in so many aspects.
And yoga, that. Yeah.
Yes, that's, for me, yoga has completely changed my life. And I think people have maybe a wrong perception of yoga. Maybe they believe that yoga is just a bunch of putting your legs up and down, but it's so much more to it, because it's getting to know yourself. And when I mean yourself, I mean your higher self. And to really know what it is that you're meant here to do, because everyone, each and every one of us, we have a mission here. We came here to do something. Now, unfortunately, many people go through this lifetime without ever knowing what is their mission. And then I feel so blessed and lucky that I know what it is. And
you are very lucky, because I know so many people that are going through life, and I'm not even sure if you ask them, what do you, I don't know.
I don't know. And so it's also something karmic. So I think it's in your karma to know, to find out these things. So I must have done something right in my past lives. And that's why I really genuinely believe that, and one of my ethos in life is to inspire and to really do good. And to do good can be done, yes, through humanitarian work, philanthropic work. It's not always known to others, because I believe that a true philanthrope is not always the one that says what he's done, but that does good behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. But also through changing people's lives, through maybe changing their perception, and whether it is, I don't know, whether you've taught them, I don't know, to think more positive, to believe in themselves. There's so many ways that you can do good, and you know exactly what I mean by that.
The bit about the philanthropist, my dad was like that. And he taught me, do it, and you don't have to. Some people want to make a big thing about it. We very quietly, God rest his soul, he taught me a lot of things. And, it's so interesting, because I have such strong views on energy. And people call it auras, people call it your karma. So many different
energy
interpretations,
forces.
And everybody has their own way of looking at it. But people have a force. A force. I wrote that on your thing tonight, by the way.
Exactly. A force. A divine force. And that's what I'm trying to explain, that once you activate that unique greatness, that only the divine, because each one of us, we're interconnected, and each one of us, think about it like an ocean, okay? And we are a drop in the ocean. So we're part of that divine consciousness, that divine intelligence. We can call it God, we can call it anything we want, but there's something much more powerful. So if we are part of that and we access that, because the problem is in the world, it's an ego-driven world. And people think that I am, and I can do, and we cannot do anything without that force, that divinity within us. And once we activate that, once we really do and align our actions, that is spiritual aligned actions, that are beneficial to the humanity, then everything that happens, just call it synchronicity, call it, a manifestation, it just happens. And that's what I'm trying to say, is that anything is possible if you really, really
That I agree with 1,000,000,000%.
If
I say
you
that every
really, 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 genuinely, in your heart and your soul, want something, there is no such thing as it cannot happen. It means, what it means is, in other words, A, I'm not willing to work hard enough for it. B, I'm not disciplined enough to make it happen, or I'm not willing to put in the work, or C, I don't want it badly enough. It means...
Or D, people think they're entitled to it for no reason.
Exactly, from an ego perspective.
And I'm like, wait a minute, you know, it just happened by that, you were in the right place. It's a matter of factors.
Yes.
You have to be in the right place at the right time, and you have to be prepared people.
Yes, and to work hard.
Because opportunity might knock, and you might not even recognize it because you were so busy somewhere else.
And that's why living the present moment is it's so important, because I don't know if you noticed, Nora, but people tend to live or in the past and are caught up in what happened, the mistakes they've made, and everything that happened to them, or they're too focused on what will be. What about now?
Today.
Today is what we have. Now is the perfect moment. It's what we do now. It's what we think now what will create the future. So the thoughts are so powerful. They're stronger than any violence that any arm that we can have. It's the thoughts.
I must say, it's a pleasure for me to be able to talk to you about this, because I know what the vibration of thought can do.
Yes.
And some people, I discuss it with them, and they look at me like I'm out of my mind, because it's something unfamiliar to them. And what happens with people usually, that if something is not, you know, that they're not comfortable with, first they will poo-poo it and say, oh, well, that can't be. Yes, it can be. And then if you actually are interested to learn more about it, then maybe you'd actually figure out, you know what, it makes sense here, and there is a reasoning to it. Because I don't just feel like throwing out words just like that. There is vibrations. There's
a reason for everything. Nothing happens by chance.
I agree with that 1,000,000,000%.
Absolutely. And that is why I have a passion project which will be launched really soon. I'm opening a yoga studio.
I heard a rumor about that. I want you to tell me about that.
Yes.
How did you get involved in that? Because you were doing the yoga and you said, I want to make a studio.
Well, yes, I had the chance to, and I'm still learning. I have a lot of more knowledge, but we learn every day. And I think until the day which I will shift to a different dimension, I will keep on learning and reading. But it started from a thought of wanting to help others. Strictly from that perspective, to help others achieve their inner greatness, to achieve that inner happiness, for them to know that true happiness comes from the inside. And once you access it, there's nothing external that should create that happiness. People think it's money, people think it's fame, people think it's, you name it. It can be so many aspects, but that true happiness comes from the inside. And we want to teach them those spiritual nuances, so they will have access to classes that they can just come in and practice directly, but we will also have courses, different courses that will teach also theoretical and practical spirituality. Enlightenment.
I love that idea.
Yes.
Do you know what I've learned in my life? Happiness, the definition, because people, you don't make me happy. And I've never felt like that, because I can have someone contribute to my happiness or contribute to my unhappiness. But it's my
choice.
I have to make myself happy. I can't put it on, in my opinion. I can't put it on other people. You know, oh, he made me happy. You have to make yourself happy, because if you make yourself happy, you can deal with everything else. But you can't, I personally cannot put on somebody he made me. I am happy in myself. He can contribute and make it better, or he can contribute and make it worse. If it gets worse, sayonara. And if it's great, you keep them next to you.
Exactly. And too many people are caught up in saying to, how should I say, blaming other people. And it's that blaming that just lowers the vibration, and it just doesn't work.
It's for us, it's taking responsibility for your actions.
Absolutely.
And once you do that, you know, which I do, if I'm correct, I'll say, all right, I will stand my ground, and if I'm not, I'll say I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm sorry, people.
Yeah.
It does not make you less. It makes you more. Okay?
And what we have to understand, yes, it's not perfect all the time. I'm not always standing around and just smiling all day long, but it's a choice. So when there is a situation that is an obstacle, I don't even call it a problem. An obstacle.
I call it a hiccup.
Exactly. It's my choice how I view that. And if I attach myself to that obstacle, then I'm resonating with it. If I look at it and I say, okay, it's on the side, I am observing it, but I'm not attached to it, and I know it will be fine, and it will just pass by, and any problem has a resolution, then it's just a matter of shifting your perspective.
Okay, so in my office, they're not really supposed to use the word problem, all right?
It's forbidden.
Well, it's just, I say, is it? No, it's just a hiccup. And I said, see, because I thought, I said,
yeah.
Problem is no, hiccups, and you'll take care of it, and then we'll move on. Because the minute you say we have a problem we have to discuss, you've already made it so much bigger.
Yeah.
I like to put it in perspective. It's a hiccup, all right, so that means there's a bump in the road.
Yes.
And we'll have to figure it out. So either you will smooth it over, or personally I will just probably blow it up and go right through it and then move to the next step.
Yeah. So if there's somebody watching us right now who is in a difficult state, or doesn't know what to do, or maybe has a disease or something like that, I just want to say that anything can be solved, and our mind is so powerful that anything can be solved. So that's kind of like I'm just sending them light.
I think it's admirable that you want to do this studio and have it open for people. I think it's such a lovely, generous,
venture.
Just the whole idea. I've heard you talk about it.
Yes.
And actually, we have a mutual friend that was telling me about it, and I said, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But, it's amazing because I know how much you have got going on. So when I heard about this, I said, what? You start filming in 2 weeks. I want you to tell me about that project.
So today we are on the 30th.
Don't ask me that. Yes, it is the 30th.
The 30th.
Yes.
So I am shooting a project which is really, really dear to my heart. It's a film directed by Adrian Sitaru, which is a very well-known and acclaimed director here in Romania. I'm very humbled and thankful for the fact that he took on this project to direct. It's called The Final Audition, and it's a story inspired during the time of the Holocaust. Now, I feel that it's a social responsibility for me to do this project because I wouldn't be here had my parents not survived the Holocaust. Now, their story is amazing, and their story that's a different film that should be said because, in short, there were 6 brothers and sisters. They were taken to concentration camps. They were all divided up, and through God's will, they all survived. In the end of the war, they all got back together. But that's not the story that we're telling. We're telling a different kind of story from a different perspective about a Nazi director who, for his pleasure, used to take Jewish girls out of the concentration camps, and he used to tell them to pretend like it is an audition. That's why it's called The Final Audition. So he used to play with their minds. It's all a very psychological game for him. And if they would like what they would do, they would let them live. If not, boom. So this
was Holocaust week, and I've seen so many.
I know the 27, like 3 days ago was the Holocaust, and every year when it's the remembrance of the Holocaust. And the fact that soon there will be no more Holocaust survivors, that's why I feel that it's so imperative to tell the story, and we must never forget. I mean, it wasn't that long time ago. It was 70 years ago. And I believe that the more time passes by, people just, I mean...
Did you see the numbers in the States?
People are just
half of the
not
people
aware.
Don't even know
they
what
don't
it
even
is.
know. So it's
I was
generation
horrified.
Exactly. So I feel that it's so important to make films like this and to have them told in schools and for students to teach, because we must not repeat history.
Well, unfortunately, darling, history repeats itself.
Yes.
The hope is that we will learn.
Yeah.
Once and for all, and not, make this over and over again.
And that's why we should all be kinder and not let the dark side overcome the good. So yeah, so we're shooting in 10 days, and we have a very well-known and talented actor on board with us called Arndt Schwerin-Sondre. He's a German actor. He will play the director, and he also played in Inglourious Basterds, Tarantino's film. Yeah. So he has a lot of experience, and he's also an actor, a teacher. So it's amazing to work with these kinds of people because they can lift your performance. And yeah, so tomorrow we have a production meeting. See what
this
exciting.
Is all very
it's
exciting.
Very exciting, extremely exciting, and there's so many other projects. There's even a comedy that I'm preparing, but I cannot say too much about.
No, but I remember you told me the other day.
Yes.
That you were writing something,
right.
And you said, "I'll tell you more about it when I see you," and I will bring it up, and let's see how much she wants to share with us, because...
Well, all I can say is that Romanian films at the moment, they are very, very sought after. And they're beginning to have a lot of success. So had you spoken to me 2-3 years ago, I would have wanted to make just English-speaking films. Like films I've done in the past, like the ones I've made with Jane Seymour and other films that I'm working.
Yeah, I saw the picture with Jane Seymour.
Yeah. Because I always wanted Romania to be portrayed in a beautiful manner, not the other way around. So this project is a project that is going to be beautiful. I'm sure that women are going to love it. It's going to be in Romanian, and that's all I can say for now.
Well, you see, all right, so we have what to look forward to.
Absolutely have what to look for. But there's another film I shot called Luca, which is supposed to come out also 2020, directed by Horatiu Mulele, which is a very well-known actor and director. And what I'm really, really, really excited about, and it's my, how should I say, it's my candy, it's the fact that in March I will play in a theater, and the play is called The Pizza Man. Yeah. And it's directed by Bogdan Drăgulescu, which is also a professor at the UNATC, which is the University of Cinematography here. And it's a beautiful story, beautiful comedy about two women and a man. And it's a story that was it's written by an American writer, and it was played off Broadway and in other countries in the world. So I'm really excited that it's now going to be done in Romania, and I'm playing the lead character. So that's coming out in March. So we're beginning rehearsals, not next week, the week after.
I want to tell you something. I thought I was busy.
And
I'm exhausted.
And I'm a mom.
Listening to her. That I know you have 2 kids, you have a husband.
And, Nora, before I came to the show, I stopped by the house, and I wanted to change my shirt and my shoes, because I'm wearing red shoes. And I asked your opinion whether I should wear black or red. And they just came to me, and they're like, Mama, please can you give us a hug? And they just wanted that moment. They're like, where are you going, Mama? And I'm like, I have an interview, a TV station. And I see it in their eyes. They're like little puppy eyes, They just want a little bit of attention from Mommy, And I try to put them to sleep every single night. And I try to, one time, my youngest daughter, and one time my oldest daughter. My youngest daughter ends up getting more of my nights. But because she has a way of, I don't know, manipulating me. But they just want that, and it's so important for me to give them that attention. And I really think that it's more about quality versus quantity.
I agree.
So when I'm with them, I'm with them,
exactly.
and I give them, and their undivided attention. And tomorrow, my youngest daughter, she's really excited. She's going to a sleepover to a friend's house, and she's like, Mommy, I'm going to make my back to school, and then she has a party. And I promised to my older daughter, I said, listen, Caro, I call her Caro. I said, you want a mommy-daughter time? She's like, yes, okay, I'm going to take you to the movies. We're going to eat popcorn. I'm going to get you a pizza. And she's like, and today when I took them from school, she's like, Mommy, remember the promise you made me? I'm like, what promise? The ones that you were going to take me to a movie and we're going to have the alone time together. And I said, she's like, are we still going to have it, or are you busy? And I'm like, no, baby, whatever I promised, I'm going to keep my promise, because I really believe in keeping promises.
For a child, when you make a promise, you can never...
sealed.
It's, what you do with adults is one thing, but when you promise...
A child...
My son knows that if Mommy says something, you can put your hand on it.
Exactly.
If I have to move heaven and earth.
And that's what I want them to know, and I try to be... You know very well, Nora, nobody teaches you to be a mom. And
no, we learn
we learn as we go along. But I think the most valuable thing that we can teach our children is unconditional love. And for them to really, really, genuinely believe in themselves, to grow up in the society without fear in their actions, and doubt and self-doubt. If they walk straight up and tall and believing in themselves and their ideas and their ideologies and wanting to make a change, and I think that's so important. In the end of the day, when we leave this world, because the whole week there was a lot of talks about Kobe Bryant and what had happened and the legacy he left, and that's the kind of things.
They're giving me
They're giving you the signal.
Okay, unconditional love. We want to end this on an unconditional love for everybody. Thank you so much, Giulia Nahmany, for joining me. Thank you all. Good night. See you next week.